The story of Kindred Fates is one that's shrouded in mystery. This video aims to unravel what little we know about the story and sort of speculate on what it could be. Here I want to sort of uncover the general story path and focus less on other aspects of the game like guilds. I'll be doing a separate video going over guilds, one about evolution, etc. So I hope you guys will join me in the comment section below and discuss the potential direction this game can go. Now, if this is your first time hearing about Kindred Fates, I highly recommend you check out the trailer that Skymill Studio posted. I will leave a link to that in the description. And you can also check out their website, their Kickstarter, and their Discord. All that will be linked in the description. Now, from what we know about this story, there exists a fog that has been maddening the kinfolk, causing them to become restless. This fog seems to be spreading, as is its control over those imbued by it. Restless kinfolk will attack you and potentially try to kill you. As a player character, you can form bonds with these restless kinfolk using the power of the shrines to, in a sense, purify them. As far as the main plot of the game goes, this is pretty much all we're given directly in the form of trailer footage and Kickstarter information. There are, however, other avenues of information that we can explore, and any sources I use will be linked in the description below. Now, for starters, from an interview on the Impossible Coin podcast, as well as in the Kickstarter stretch goals, we do know that there are legendary kinfolk, and these legendaries will, and I quote, be more impactful than what we're typically used to in monster battling games. Rob, the developer, specifically states that they will be more impactful, likely but not definitely referring to multiple legendaries having an impact on the story. He further goes to say that the team at Skymill wants to make the legendaries feel like legendaries. This is likely in contrast to the way that Pokemon has been dealing with its legendaries as of late, just kind of giving them to you, making them feel cheap. In this same interview, when referencing the fog, Rob tells us that with kinfolk there is a sense of restlessness. Kinfolk do not age like humans. They could potentially live forever. He then states that this comes with a price, being that the longer you live, there's a higher chance that you'll become restless. The fog is one of many triggers for restlessness in kinfolk, and the problem is increasing as of late. If this sort of story narrative does sound somewhat familiar, you're not alone in feeling that way. From what we've seen, it draws some similarities to the Curse of the Undead from the Dark Souls franchise. The Curse of the Undead causes people to basically live forever, and there are a number of ways one can go hollow. If they run out of humanity or if they lose purpose. When one is hollowed, they become hostile and almost feral in a sense and will try to kill you. This seems to draw an interesting parallel with the concept of the fog in Kindred Fates, almost like a physical manifestation of the undead curse. We also see the similarities with how the kinfolk die as well. They become spirits that you can pick up, just like when you die in Dark Souls or lose your souls, you can pick them up where you died. This is also pretty well the same in the story of Bloodborne, which is basically like a more somewhat futuristic version of Dark Souls, using somewhat separate themes but ultimately following the same sort of path. A game that I know for a fact that both Rob and Andrew have played. What I'm wondering is if any of the other members behind writing the story have dabbled in the Souls franchise, and that's where the more deep-rooted Souls aspects are coming from. From the bond formed message being similar to the humanity remained message, to the campfires acting similarly to bonfires, and from the previously stated story having parallels, it does make you wonder who's the Souls fanboy slash fangirl out here. I mean, come on guys, don't make me get Vatividia on this shit. We'll figure it out. But yeah, jokes aside, my assumption is that this legendary or legendaries are somehow controlling the fog. The reasoning behind this may be less shrouded in mystery than we might have at first thought. Now, this is 100% speculation on my part, but does have some loosely based evidence to point to. However, like I said, this isn't fact, but speculation. So from the Kindred Fates Master Guide, we know that humans and kinfolk didn't always get along. In fact, kinfolk were actually known to eat humans and other kinfolk's flames. The flames being what you see in the trailer when your kinfolk dies. It is unspecified what happened, but this is no longer the case. In recent days, human and kinfolk sort of coexist relatively peacefully and as equals. We also find out once again in the Impossible Coin interview that the guilds of the world aren't used as mandatory roadblocks to hilt progression, but instead act differently. Rob mentions that the guilds are protecting the towns from quote-unquote something. Could it be the fog? The legendary kinfolk? It's a rather interesting concept, and we'll go over it more in depth in the future, but I thought it was noteworthy to point out here. Back over to the history here, we know that kinfolks used to eat humans, and the same master guide tells us that the versa isn't true. Humans don't eat kinfolk, nor do they form any romantic relationships with them. Thank God. Now my guess here is that these legendary kinfolk might be at odds with this new-ish way of life. Perhaps it'll even tie into the whole kinfolk are immortal deal, where this legendary has watched the world go from kinfolk and human being enemies to equal, and sort of disagrees with that philosophy. The fog could also be a way to ignite a civil war between the two groups, or since the humans would probably lose, at least a way to cause a divide. Throughout the storyline, the game could bring up various themes like discrimination, being the legendary kinfolks see the humans as inferior and want to divide the species, or the theme of unbreakable bonds where despite differences, the humans and kinfolk will work together in order to defeat this threat. I mean, specifically your character. Could be sort of like the light and the dark. I think that this storyline is somewhat plausible, but only time will tell. Perhaps on the gameplay side of things, you'll have to sort of defeat or capture multiple legendaries in, let's just say, for example, the 4 corners of the map to slowly make the fog disappear or something to that extent. I'm really interested to see where this all goes. If you haven't watched the interview with Rob going over the various aspects of the game, including guilds, recruitment, the aforementioned lore, PvP, raids, etc., I definitely make sure you check it out. It was a really interesting podcast. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments below. Perhaps there are pieces of information that I didn't think to include, or perhaps there was something I didn't feel I needed to, but sort of linked to something that maybe I missed. I kind of want to get a discussion going on here and see what kind of potential stories we can come up and see how close they are to the true thing when the game comes out. With all that being said, Kindred Fates is an amazing game. If you don't know about it, if you're just learning about it, definitely check out my other videos on it. Like, everything about this game seems like amazing so far. Like I said, check out the trailer. The footage you're seeing now is from the trailer. There's not a whole lot of gameplay out yet, so I'm kind of been using what I can. Yeah, so with all that being said, make sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at GymLeaderEd. Once again, go check out Skymill Studio, and until next time, peace.